Where's my pen?
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Come on now, you're on. I'm always on.
Seasoned veteran.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Bear with me 1 second, folks.
Phone is off.
Do you want us to get started, or are we kicking off?
Yeah, you just want to announce the
Yeah.
first.
Yes, are you ready? You good? Melissa?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Item 99, discussion Northeastern University capstone project, and we have Melissa Tentakis, our Economic Development Director, to introduce.
Thank you. For the record, yes, my name is Melissa Tentakis. I work as the Economic Development Director, and thanks so much for making time to listen to the Northeastern grad students present this evening. Just if you would indulge me for one moment, I'd like to bring some of the staff, town staff that's been supporting us on this project, as well as one of our community leaders, Frank, if you guys want to come up here and just say a couple words. As you know, our town administrator, Paul Sagarino, has his Master's of Public Administration from Northeastern. And because of this link, it's been exciting to receive some connections and opportunities to work with Northeastern in terms of projects and an ability to explore new things with the students. And this, in terms of our capstone today, we have a Greenway project, but I just wanted to give staff a few comments, or a chance to say a few words as well.
Yeah, sure. So for the record, Liz Bonventry, Planning Director. I'm super excited that Northeastern agreed to do this project with us. As you guys know, one of the biggest complaints we hear in the planning department is traffic in town. And I think that this group has come up with some really innovative ideas, and just from the planning world, it's always good to give people transportation options besides getting in their car. So if you give them viable, safe options, some people will choose not to drive. So that's all.
I won't add, I don't have much to add, but I will say that the whole idea of a Vybrook Riverwalk has been kicking around, at least in our department, and with the Conservation Commission for probably 15 years. So it's really good to actually get a plan for it.
Despite the rumors, I am not a town employee. I'm privately employed. And I've had the real honor and privilege to work with an incredibly brilliant, sort of involved, invested group of young folks for this project. I will have one little detour, and that is this whole thing brought back myself 53 years ago when I was in high school. And on the first Earth Day, for some strange reason, they picked me to be the MC. Now, what was really interesting is that when that was brought up, that there'd be a full day dedicated to environmental issues at the high school, there was a big outpouring of why waste a day? And in fact, probably half of the auditorium was full. Some kids certainly took the day off because they didn't want to be there, but many parents did not want their kids to be there. So fast forward to today, see where we've come in those 53 years. I think it's a real important thing. And these folks have a very important and I think interesting, it is tied into a lot of other stuff that's going on. There's a planning study on the Blanchard-Wheeler Road. The Mall Road is in there. The history back in 2003, there was a bicycle study, another one in 2017 by the Nordblum folks, the Transportation Committee that you folks ran for the last couple of years. All of that, I think, is tied together here. So it'll be very enjoyable, it'll be very informative, and I think they've done a great job. So I'm going to be quiet and move away now.
Okay, and with that, we'll introduce the Northeastern grad team. Jonah, I'll have you guys come up here to the microphone, introduce yourselves, and kick off the presentation, and then we'll have questions and answers afterwards, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Great. Okay.
Should I sit here? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Perfect.
just speak into the microphone, I think.
Perfect. Sounds good. Hi, everyone. So we are
Our team name is Burlington's Husky Action Team. My name is Jonah Williams. I'm Jose Guerrero.
I'm Sophie.
I'm Yusha. I'm
All right, awesome. All right, thank you. So Jose is just gonna move our slides along there. So a little bit about ourselves. Thanks so much for all of our partners for the introduction. But we're a team of graduate students who have worked with the town of Burlington this semester to explore the possibility of developing a multi-use path in the town of Burlington that supports active modes of transportation such as walking and biking, attracts visitors, and connects Burlington's most prominent commercial district. So here's all of us. We're all from the Masters of Urban Planning and Policy program, or Master of Public Policy. Our main point of contact, Melissa, and our professor from Northeastern. So in this presentation, we'll be providing an overview of the existing conditions in the town of Burlington, a summary of our study, our recommendations, and then some options for the funding and the cost of this project. So part of our work was developing a video promoting our project. So we'll show you all our video.
Burlington's Husky Action Team has conducted a capstone project in collaboration with the Town of Burlington's Economic Development Office to explore the feasibility of 2 potential multi-use path projects in Burlington. The team believed that the Town of Burlington satisfies all the parameters to ensure the successful implementation of green solutions, which can lead to a strong sense of community connectivity and improved livability in the town. Town's Economic Development Director, Elisa Tindicella, stated that the Northeastern Innovation Campus is one of our town's gems, and this project gives us an opportunity to work in collaboration for the benefit of the community. Moreover, the graduate students bring a spotlight to pathway concepts that the town has discussed, but has not had the resources to explore in more depth. The students' work will help provide us with new ideas, information, and steps toward meaningful implementation. The study will explore how to enhance connectivity and walkability for the Mall Road area while incorporating site development standards to create active streetscapes and outdoor spaces that enhance the pedestrian and cyclist experience. The Husky team conducted a survey seeking input on the location and type of path the community would use. The team has provided an in-depth analysis using an evaluation matrix to compare the existing policy options. Ranking key alternatives, including environmental effects, construction costs, ridership, and more, provides important insights into the project. The final report reviews suggested infrastructure, including an AI visualization of what the path would look like and recommendations about implementation phases. Along with the report, the team is delivering the GIS mapping to summarize potential paths and all crossing points, including the elevated bridge and other vital infrastructure. The Vine Brook Riverwalk and bicycle loop will utilize a variety of paths to offer local residents a unique experience and accommodate multiple uses. The team believes that Burlington's built environment will become a more vibrant and accessible place for pedestrians and cyclists in the future. The extension of the Vine Brook Trail connecting to the Minuteman bike path should be coordinated with the town of Lexington to connect the historic bikeway to the town of Burlington. Furthermore, the set of policy recommendations in this proposal acknowledges the reality of the town, while encouraging people to interact with their environments in a healthy and sustainable manner. The team envisions their recommendations for the project as a roadmap for what is possible for Burlington to achieve in the future.
All right, thanks so much for watching the video, everyone. So just to provide an overview of our analysis of the existing conditions in Burlington, as you all are aware, there's the existing development is overall oriented towards cars, and there's limited existing infrastructure for walking and biking in Burlington. There is a total of 2 miles of bike lanes which is 1% of the total road inventory of Burlington. There's a total of 40 miles of sidewalk, which is 34% of the total road inventory in Burlington, and only 21 miles have a sidewalk on both sides of the road. Only 21 miles have a sidewalk on one side, 7 miles have a sidewalk on both sides. So part of our study, we looked at previous work that has been done in Burlington. There's numerous previous plans and studies. The main ones we looked at was the Vine Brook Riverwalk, which proposed a linear park along the Vine Brook, which flows through Burlington's main commercial district. This Riverwalk would provide a key connection through the commercial district to surrounding residential areas and offices, and would also include benches, lighting, and public art. The Burlington Bikeway was proposed in 2001 and then explored further with a feasibility study in 2003. And this proposal envisioned a town-wide network of on and off-road bike facilities. Bike feasibility study in 2017 proposed bike connections from the Minuteman Trail in Lexington to Network Drive in Burlington, and offered multiple routes and steps to complete these connections. So you can see on this slide, there's in orange are the proposed paths from the 2017 bike feasibility study. The blue is the proposed route for the Vine Brook Riverwalk. Now, slide. So while there is limited existing infrastructure for non-motorized transportation, there is an interest in developing this type of infrastructure for these modes of travel, and a need to provide options for people to get around in Burlington.
I'm going to highlight some background information about the job and survey. Burlington has very strong and growing job market, and the population just 26,000, but over 44,000 private jobs, and 96% live outside Burlington. As you can see, before 2020, the pandemic, the job has been going up for years. In 2011, the job pretty much centered on a large clusters in Burlington Mall, the District, Lakeview Hospital, and Burlington Woods. But in 2020, the job opportunity expanded to Northwest Park, Third Avenue, and Wayne Street. There are clusters in different business areas, and they no longer center on a large one. This is the existing pedestrians and bike infrastructure in the commercial district. As you can see, there are so many gaps between each clusters, and Middlesex Turnpike is the only gateway street connecting the new business center, Northwest Park, the Third Avenue, with the rest neighborhoods and Burlington Mall. There's no sidewalk and no bypass. There's nothing right here. So the traffic has gotten so bad in the Middlesex Turnpike. In 2020, the average daily traffic was 31,000 vehicles. In 2007, it was just 25,000 vehicles. That's about 24% increase. Survey, we left some space to allow the people to talk about their opinions, and they did complain about the traffic there, and people really want a better pedestrian infrastructure. On March, we did a survey and received 246 responses, and 94.7% complete by the Burlington residents, and the survey inspire people to imagine how the true proposal, Vine Brook Riverwalk, and the bypass could improve their lifestyle. Here are some highlights of the survey results. The majority did not frequently use the alternative transportation method, but most participants are really interested in visiting the Vine Brook Riverwalk, and walking is the most popular alternative transportation option. We also discovered that the majority would like to exercise or do recreational activities in the commercial district. But the most of participants also identify unsafe or inadequate infrastructure as the main challenge. The good news is the majority will be extremely and very likely to use the alternative transportation option if provided by the town of Burlington.
So, as we know what Burlington has and what people want, I'm going to talk about what Burlington needs. So, for either a river walk or a bike path, the real need for the town of Burlington is a multi-use greenway for people to fulfill the purpose of connectivity and outdoor activities. So, having a multi-use greenway could benefit the town in aspects, actually. Outdoor spaces can provide locations for events and generate foot traffic for local businesses, which can generate new job opportunities and attract new business. Additionally, the greenway can serve as a good place for educational and touring site. Once the economic circle is formed, people from outside Burlington will flock into the town, which in turn will bring in huge tax revenues. Now we can move to the study summary, which conclude our study on comparing the two previous plans. So in terms of the opportunities and challenges, the Riverwalk has a huge potential for its recreational and educational purposes. Comparing to the bike path, the Riverwalk can provide more open space for people and the town, which leads to a huge economic development. The challenges for the Riverwalk include higher environmental risks and the difficulties in the design and construction process. As for the bike path, since it is located along the existing road, the bike path can be built easily and be used for multiple purposes, as well as link larger areas to connect residents. On the other hand, the safety issues and the permit problems will be the key challenges for the bike path.
And here we, as my teammates already mentioned, we choose these two alternatives to compare together. And we decided to have some 5 key criteria which could provide some objective comparison between those two alternatives. We have technical feasibility in the first place, and we use this 2 different plans. Those are kind of covering the technical feasibility, and also we had some communications with stakeholders. Those are working for the town before. Here they have the equal opportunity. Both plan is kind of feasible technically to be done. For funding option, which is the second criteria, we analyzed some funding and grant proposals, and we gave some criteria for scoring up to 2 funding option. It was small, 2 to 5 option. It was medium, and more than 5 option funding option. It was high. So here we have Vinebrook Riverwalk as a winner alternative because it has more than 5 funding options as we reviewed. For the environmental effects, Yushan already mentioned that we had some meetings with stakeholders, and we did some more in-depth analysis here. And for both alternatives, the environmental effect is low, and for Vinebrook is low to medium. For the ridership, we use the survey data, and up to 30% we consider this is low. Scoring purpose, and from 30 to 50 we consider it medium score, and high score is more likability of this option more than 50%. So Vinebrook Riverwalk has high ridership percentage here as well. And for the last one, in our analytical matrix, stakeholder engagement, we counted the stakeholders' participation and engagement in particular plan. So the logic is the same as for funding options, and we revealed here that stakeholders engagement for the Winebrook Riverwalk will be higher, like more than 5 stakeholders engaged in this case. There's some recommendations. Also will continue.
Now, we would like to move into the physical aspect of our recommendations. The Vinebrook Greenway and Bicycle Loop will utilize a variety of paths to offer locals a unique experience and include any type of user that wishes to use it. The multiple types of crossings and paths are meant to keep users safe and physically separated from large motor vehicles. Our recommendation looks for the Vinebrook Greenway to include shared or mixed-use paths, protected bike lanes, at-grade elevated crossings, an elevated bridge, and roundabout crossings. Phase 1 of the project begins by recognizing the reality of the zone and the town. Currently, bike and pedestrian infrastructure is almost non-existent in Burlington, with only 30% of the roads even having a sidewalk, leaving residents without safe spaces for exercise or taking their kids to schools. Therefore, creating a safe space for people to be able to do so is our #1 recommendation. For this, we recommend having the Vinebrook Greenway cross through the wetlands that are a protected natural piece of land vital to the town's environment, and as such, should not only be preserved, but actively promoted. By going through the wetlands instead of through Middlesex Turnpike, we can create a safer space for pedestrians completely separated from vehicles, while also keeping vehicle flow unaffected. Phase 1 of the project recognizes the need of the Vinebrook Greenway, but also the intricate relationship Burlington has with the car, and how this initial phase has to provide the maximum benefit for residents, while also burdening drivers as little as possible. The Vinebrook Greenway would be fitted with a mixed-use path that physically separates pedestrians and cyclists from vehicles, and is designed to be useful for all ages and abilities. Protected bike lanes cannot simply be painted on the ground. They have to have physical aspects of them that protect riders from vehicles. This can be in the form of concrete barriers, boulders, planters that would grade with the nature and the greenway, and even beams and bumps. Phase 2 would see the expansion of the bike path to cover a large portion of the town and create the first loop, the Burlington Bike Loop. These would envelop the commercial area. Extensions to the loop would look to connect it to the northeastern part of town, and the first feeder line seeks to add the town hall directly to it. Public support should be gathered and to better gauge where future feeder routes must be constructed. Both phases would utilize at-grade elevated crossings to provide a safe passage for pedestrians and cyclists. Finally, we recommend having an elevated bridge over I-95 to connect the wetlands to Mary Cummings Park and Blanchard Road.
And after proposed infrastructure, we can talk about the costs and funding options. Here is some general costs, which is estimated range we are providing after reviewing the similar projects, and also did some consultation with people who has the previous experience working with Burlington, and including the Mr. Frank DiPietro. Thank you for that. He shared a good guide how the cost for kind of project is calculated, and also we used Saratoga Springfield's project, which is very similar to Burlington town, and they did some similar sidewalks and crosswalking. So here is some calculations with elevated bridge and without elevated bridge, because elevated bridge can be its cost can depend on design and infrastructure. So, but the bridge Saratoga constructed was about 2.4 million, and it's very similar. They have the same highway separation. And the final cost, estimated range is 3.4, 5.4 million in total. Joanna will continue with funding option.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, in our project, we provided an overview of multiple funding options for these projects. But given the cost of the projects we're proposing, one single funding option is unlikely to cover the entire cost of the projects we're studying. So one possibility for diversifying the funding options such as this are establishing a land trust. Land trusts are nonprofit organizations directly involved in preserving land for environmental, cultural, and recreational benefits. So their nonprofit status allows land trusts to raise funds from a variety of sources, including donations from individuals. So it really opens up more opportunities for funding the projects. So a land trust could be a good model for funding, developing, and maintaining the trails in Burlington.
Finally, we just wanted to show some images and some inspiration we took for this project. Projects like these are not unique, and the qualms that come from traffic-oriented development are not only to the town of Burlington. A lot of towns, like the old Eastern Marsh Trail connector in Salisbury, are examples of towns that have created ways to mitigate these problems. We also created some AI images to look for a combination between what could work in connecting the beauty of the nature of the wetlands with a futuristic and innovative approach that brings people together, because that's what we see this project as a way for the town and for the people to come together with nature and to be able to enjoy the beauty of it. Finally, we would just like to take a minute to thank everybody that has made this project a possibility and a reality for us. First, we would like to thank Paul for all of his help and for bringing Northeastern to the town. And we would also like to thank Melissa and Frank for all their guidance. They've been a vital part of how we've approached this project, and they were with us along in all the steps. We also would like to thank John, Larry, and Alan. They've been also very helpful and providing us with a lot of information and a lot of material. We would like to thank Dr. Lansmar, who could not be here today. He's having an interview for a local paper, so he would have liked to be here. Same goes for Caleb, John, and Ted, and Alan and Stephanie, who have helped so much with our project. And finally, we would just like to thank the town itself for opening their doors to us and allowing us to do this project, which we hope not only helps our student life, but is also helpful for the people and for the town. Thank you very much for your attention.
Melissa, did you want to summarize or should I?
So just want to thank the Northeastern Husky Action Team, as they've named themselves one more time. Thank you so much. So as you know, capstones are, the culminating work of their graduate program. These guys are Masters of Public Administration, looking how to implement things like this in communities. And I think, a lot of people will say this is big, ambitious, but you got to dream big, and they're kind of kicking us off to do so. So working with conservation and planning, we're looking to move forward some grant work on this and get more feasibility done. And this will be the foundation to that. So we're really excited about that. So thanks again, everyone. And thanks to our awesome kind of town staff that really collaborated with them, spent time, one-on-one meetings, and shared data. So thanks to our team as well on the land use side of things as well. And if you have any questions, we're happy to, facilitate that, all recognizing the time constraints as well.
Well, I'm sure we do. Let me start to my left. Tickets?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I absolutely love this. I love this. I see so many benefits of this. I could just see this being another gem that is in the town of Burlington. We don't have it. We don't have this. This would be awesome if we got it. I love the fact, see, we're in the town every day, so we just see things as part of the landscape. We don't see things from an outside point of view. And having a few fresh sets of eyes probably is what we really needed, because we keep talking about this, and we don't do anything about it. The only other thought I have on this is I'd love to keep this within the town, but if we tried to go over 95, that involves the state, and that, we work slow enough, never mind having the state involved. So maybe look at an option of the Vandergraaf South Bedford Street area as a connector, but that's the only, I don't want to say downside, because it's not a downside, but that's a big pipe dream that involves a lot of moving pieces and a lot of other agencies that I would like to not have involved, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Mr. Priest?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, first off, just amazing presentation. Thank you very much for taking the time and the effort and the dedication. Thank you for choosing something like this. You know, it's appreciated. Couple quick questions about some of the things you guys were talking about in the presentation. So when you did the survey, and it was like 96% of residents who had responded, of those residents who responded, how many do you happen to know offhand also happen to work in or around Burlington?
What percentage of people work in Burlington responded to
I can start that answer while Rand, because one of the questions was how many people work and answered the survey, and around 90% above did not work within the town. Is that
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the primary respondent were residents who do not work in the town of Burlington.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is actually a piece of information I would not have expected. Given the location and the vibrancy of the area from a commercial perspective, I would have assumed that we'd be hearing from people who work in the area who would capitalize on something like this. So that's a unique indicator that we didn't have insight into before. My other question from a technical standpoint was in the matrix, and I'm not gonna be able to find it. The statistics around the matrix, there were the low and the high. Was it the feasibility of the success rate?
Yes.
How is that tabulated? Is that based off of the survey results, or is that based off of something else? Here is the ridership, sorry.
Yeah, ridership, we use the survey data because there was a comparison. The same question was asked to the residents, that which do you prefer and which one would you use? But for other indicators, what we were discussing, it was breakdown. This is the 5 most common like criteria for the metrics to comparison. Yeah, that's okay. General indicators.
Okay, awesome. My last question, and I appreciate everyone's indulgence here, is when factoring everything in, knowing how bad the traffic is on Middlesex Turnpike, was there any consideration given to where people might park when engaging with this, right? Would we need new parking? Would current infrastructure be able to maintain people using this?
Yeah, we thought about this and in talks with local experts. There was 2 locations in the wetlands that could be ideal for parking. It might not be able to accommodate a large amount of parking, but it would be enough to get the ball rolling. In our initial assessment, there's also parking in Mary Cummings Park. So that one's actually larger. So our idea was to have 3 separate parks, one in the wetlands, one in the north by Middlesex Turnpike, and one in the south with Mary Cummings Park.
Okay.
And just coming back a little bit also to the question about going over I-95, we were given free rein over the design and to create as innovative a question, an experience as possible.
There we go.
And that's why we were recommending this. But in our recommendation, there is also an option to go underneath the bridge, which would make it more feasible. So we still are connecting to Mary Cummings Park without having to need the overpass.
Awesome. To Melissa's point, I'll say that, it's better to start with the big idea and then scale it back to what's appropriate and what's, more accomplishable given the actual constraints, right? As opposed to trying to work upwards into an idea taking into account all those constraints, projects might never get off the ground, let alone be conceived, if we think from, that perspective. So, from my perspective, I appreciate that you just took a blanket approach to the whole thing. And then from there, you can say, okay, what does not apply here? Right, and then we can start to, weed out what may or may not work, and more learnings along the way. So, thank you all again very much. I really appreciate it and enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Joe?
Mike, go ahead. I'll go afterwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to say thank you very much. That was an outstanding presentation. It was, I'm going to use the word inspiring. It was awesome. As my colleague Selectman Tigas said, we live in this town, we've all lived here a long time. We see it the same all the time, and getting a look at our town through a view, your fresh eyes, is definitely refreshing, and it kind of expands the box and of ideas of things that we think could be possible. I have a couple questions. How did you choose Burlington to do your study? How did you come across us, and how do we luck out to get such a wonderful presentation?
Well, for that, we were given an option of all the capstone projects that there were, and at least in my personal experience and why I chose this project is connectivity. For me, bringing people together is an important part as an urban planner. I think that's our number one goal, is to bring people together and to give people towns back, because the car has taken a lot from us, in my opinion. So that's why I chose this. And I think you guys are in the unique position to be able to do so. You have a lot of passionate people. It's not always easy to convince them that this might be the best option, but the work is worth the effort.
Awesome. Another question. I want to get back to the bridge over I-95. I actually call it Route 128, so indulge me. The bridge over Route 128. Are there other examples of other towns that have actually done that? Because that's a bold kind of plan and vision.
So a little bit different from the bridge, but one of our slides, it showed a connection underneath I-95 that goes between Amesbury and Salisbury. So that was funded as part of the bridge replacement. So funded by, I think it was about $3 million of highway funding to provide a trail connection under the highway. So that's definitely something we considered. I think a challenge here in Burlington is other places where there are bridges over highways, there was existing like railway right-of-ways and maybe existing bridges. So that is a challenge, but I think definitely worth dreaming big and thinking big. But yeah, I thought that was a great example of a connection past the highway.
I love it. Fortune favors the bold, right?
Yeah.
So in our discussions in town and planning and brainstorming in committees and stuff, we've discussed the potential of a bridge over Middlesex Turnpike. And for my brain, that's a big endeavor. And you guys took that to the next level, so that's pretty awesome. The survey, is there any chance we can see the results of your survey, or if you could send us a copy? I'd love to take a look and see what you guys found. That would be great information for us.
All of our information is in a report that we have provided to Melissa, and we'd be happy to.
Yeah, we can
share that.
Yeah. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. So be on the Planning and Economic Development website.
Everything we did is gonna be in there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Everything.
Thank you again for all of your efforts. This is a great presentation. You did a great job, and best of luck to all of you in your future endeavors. And last question is, when do we start?
Hopefully, as soon as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Oh, we got one more. Two more.
I like your last question. It was a hard end. It was a wonderful presentation. I think you put a lot of time and effort into this. I think it's a very great idea for the town of Burlington. Now we just have to get it off the ground and get going with it somewhere along the way. Cost effective, the private property that has to go across, the landowners that will say yes or no, or what's my end of it, who would donate to it. You're looking at a lot of money. I agree with the bridge part of it. That's going to be a tough sell somewhere along the way. Couldn't have been happier with the presentation. It was just fantastic, but most of the questions were already answered, so all I can sit here and say, good luck, let us know when.
Thank you.
Yeah, agreed with all my colleagues on the board. Walkability, transportation, huge topics here in Burlington lately. So I guess my question to you guys are, where are you going to be 6 months from now? Are you still going to be available to us to help us initiate some of these goals that you've set for us, or are you going to be on your own private industry?
Right. So yeah, we'll all have
of your lives.
we'll all have graduated from our program. So this is really our final project as in our master's degrees. So I think all kind of going different ways. I know I'll still be in Massachusetts, so
Okay, well, you
definitely
gave
could be
us
a
some,
point
you
of
gave us some
contact
great
of the
information
town.
that we will pass along to interested parties here in town, and hopefully we can cooperate.
Hire them now as consultants. Before someone scoops them up.
The correct answer is, we would be private consultants for a certain fee.
Exactly.
Always default to the broad open-ended.
Paul, you have any final words?
Sure, I would just like to thank the students. This is a semester-long project for all 5 of these folks, and they put in a ton of work into it. I know firsthand, I did it years ago, and I'm just thrilled with the work that you guys did, and very grateful for you selecting Burlington to do your project in. And I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank all the town staff that helped out with this. Having 5 smart volunteers is one thing, but you still have to organize them, and I think our team worked really hard on this as well. Thank you to Melissa for all her efforts into it, Frank DePietro, John Keeley, Eileen, Liz, and Caleb from planning, and hopefully I didn't forget anybody, but just thank you for all your hard work. This is a very valuable report for the town, so thank you.
Thank you.
And just as a final note, we had brought some donuts to soften the question. I think you're still able to grab one if you so please.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good. Great job. Thank you.
Lynn, would you ask the chief to come on in and have them come in before we get to the other items on the protocol? After. Come on in, yep.
Where would you like?
Oh, you could take your usual seat.
All right.
Gentlemen, I'm just going to, vaguely indulge you, we just want to get to the appointment before we get back to the agenda item.
Doing duty and we,
I'll do the appointment. Sure.
yeah, that makes sense.
Does he want a picture?
Sorry.
Do they want?
Get this one.
All right, item 101, appointments, police patrolman, Chief Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Pleased to bring before you tonight John Morris, a candidate for the position of police officer within the Burlington Police Department. John took our exam back in April of 2022. He is a full-time resident of Stamford, Connecticut, but brought to us by way of Merrimack College. He is the son of Dr. Robert Morris, an OBGYN in Connecticut, and Michelle Morris, a school administrator in New York. He also has a sister, Madeline, who's a paralegal in South Carolina. And John and his girlfriend, Audrey Moore, are currently looking for a place to reside around here after he graduates from the police academy. He is currently set to graduate from the Merrimack College Police Academy on May 11th. And hopefully, if he's appointed tonight, he will start May 15th. He comes very highly recommended by the Police Academy staff, including Selectman Tigas, who I've had conversation with offline, who may be able to speak more to his performance in the academy. But while attending the police academy, he's also working towards a Master in Science and Criminal Justice. He's expected to graduate cum laude in July after finishing some of the requirements which will happen after graduation from the academy. He currently has a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Psychology from Marist College in New York. And he also has some relevant experience which will help him on the job as he interned with the Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse in Poughkeepsie, New York, where he worked alongside SROs, counselors, psychologists, and social workers investigating child abuse. Based upon the recommendation of the staff in Burlington as well as the Police Academy, I would like to recommend John Morris to be appointed to the position of police officer in the Burlington Police Department.
Thank you, Chief. With the Chief's recommendation, I appoint John Morris to the position of patrolman in the Burlington Police Department and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Congratulations, John.
Congratulations, Uncle.
Congratulations, welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Welcome officially.
Don't go far. What about that?
Now you got to do push-ups till the
How many do you want? Wow, look at that.
I love it.
You can match Denizio, we're good.
Chief,
Chief, what are we doing? Oh, Chief, wait, we just do it quick?
Chief.
Oh, all right. I thought Chief was going. Sorry, sir.
No, Chief's gonna do his when he goes back first.
Well, okay then. Yeah, we got it. Seems like hand signals or something. We got it.
He's behind me, I don't get up.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Chief, thank you very much. You've got a good man there.
Thank you.
Give him
Jim, before they leave,
Yep.
I just want to make a comment about the uniqueness of the Merrimack College Police Academy. It's not unlike any other in the state. I teach at 4 academies, and this one here is much, much different. It is part of the master's program. The class size is very small. So in addition to taking the students taking their master's classes, they have to maintain their studies, they have to maintain a 3.0 GPA or higher, maintain the physical standards, conduct a research project, and also attend a police academy, all at the same time. I mean, either or is tough enough on its own, but to do them simultaneously shows you the testament of Mr. Morris and the graduates of that academy. And when they graduate, they'll graduate with a master's degree. They'll graduate as a certified police officer in the Commonwealth of Mass. And a side benefit for the town is we don't have to pay for academies. He's coming out academy trained. So I just wanted to talk about that program because it's very unique. And everyone that comes out of that academy gets a job and they excel, and I'm sure Mr. Morris will excel as well. That's all. I just wanted to make a comment.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, again, thanks, Chief.
Thanks again.
Again, congratulations.
Congrats again.
Okay, I see I know we've got folks in attendance and we've got folks online who I presume are here for the public hearing on Windview Heights. I just want to make this announcement, maybe save us a little time. We will be opening the public hearing on Windview. We will not be taking any testimony. We're going to be continuing the matter till June 12th. But we will be opening it on time tonight and then continuing into the 12th. We will not be taking any testimony on the merits of the application tonight. Item 100, citizens' time. Is there anyone in the room here for citizens' time? Anybody online? Citizens' time? Gentlemen, I don't see any. Anybody?
No, I don't see anybody.
Okay. Item 102, approval. Children's Mental Health Awareness Week. Christine Shuhan, Department of Youth and Family Services. Nice to see you again.
Same here. Thank you. Appreciate you having me here this evening. It's that time of year again. I know I was here last year and the year before. First week in May is Children's Mental Health Awareness Week, and I'm here to ask that we can turn on the green lights in the Commons so that we can make it known, bring some attention to children's mental health.
We're all familiar with the program. Anybody have any questions or concerns, or Mr. Priest?
No concerns, to be clear. Christine, question is, beyond Light Up the Common, do we post on the town website, like, how else do we let folks know that this is Children's Mental Health Awareness Week?
I will post something on our page on the town's website, if you would, about Children's Mental Health and Awareness Week and resources that are available for folks.
Awesome.
So,
yeah,
that's pretty much it. If you have suggestions, I'm certainly open to suggestions.
At this point, I want to wait and see how the communications research, studies come back.
Yep. So am I.
See how folks want to receive information. But we saw an email just this past week about somebody who was super excited about the weekly bulletins. So people are, as they opt into things, paying attention.
Yep.
And I want to make sure that we're serving up all the information that really does matter. So.
Great. Thank you.
Nothing else. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen, anything else? No. Christine, any other events you have planned surrounding that week?
No, not around children's mental health awareness. No.
Okay, but the lighting of the common, and we do that in conjunction with our friends at Recreation, or?
Yes.
Recreation, I'll get in touch with Recreation. They will be the ones that will turn the lights on for us, if you would, so.
All right, well, it's certainly an important week, and hopefully brings attention to
Yes.
the issue. I hope I hope we don't have any issue, but we all know we do.
What I'm hoping to have on the website is just some information in terms of specifics about Burlington, the children's mental health here in Burlington in general, but also more specifically to what's going on for kids here in Burlington. So.
Always a pleasure to see you, and I would entertain a motion to approve.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we approve lighting up the town common for Children's Mental Health Awareness Week.
Second.
Motion second. Anything further? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
500.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Take care.
Item 103, approval, bond and bond anticipation notes. Giannino.
Good evening to the chair and the board. Tonight before you, we have two items looking for your approval. The first relates to the dollars that were appropriated at the September 21 town meeting. Article 6 was to borrow the sum of $15 million for the construction and operation of the PFAS filter addition at Mill Pond plant. The DPW with John Sanchez and Brian White fast-tracked that program, and at this point in time, I don't think Brian's here, I believe they're testing the filters right now. So with that, the dollars were spent rather quickly, and between the DPW and the town administration, we're able to get a award from the Clean Water Act Trust, which will basically allow us to borrow up to $15 million at a very low interest rate. Because we were moving so fast, with the cooperation of DEP, they've agreed to give us an interim loan until such time as the final funding for the Clean Water Act Trust Fund will be finalized in 2026. So up until that time, till it's finalized, they've agreed to front us the $4.2 million that was in this year's bond anticipation note, and also provide us the funding that has been spent to date, which has been over, and that is, the interim loan is at a 0% interest rate, so who could disagree with that? So two things. I think, I can attest to the fact that getting the long-term note through the trust will be the benefit of the town at a much lower rate if we are out going into the marketplace. And in the interim, a 0% interest rate is great. So that's the first item. I don't know if you want me to discuss both, Mr. Chair.
Your prerogative, Gary. How do you want to do it?
I believe you, just to clear it up, if we could, I believe you have a motion before you, item number one.
Indeed I do. So I can read this
Just
first.
looking for number one, right?
Yeah, we'll just do number one. So I'd like to make a motion that the select board votes, sorry, wow, if I could read tonight. Here we go. A motion that the issuance of the town's $15 million water bonds to the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, which were authorized pursuant to chapters 29C and 44 of the general laws, and a vote of the town passed September 27, 2021, Article 6, to pay costs of improvements to the town's drinking water infrastructure, including the issuance of interim loan notes to the trust in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tigas. Any further discussion on the motion? Being none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you to the board. I can't stress the fact that I was very impressed with the leadership of the DPW and the town administration helping. All I was doing was moving paper around, so, and don't know much about the PFAS, but I know we're working towards getting our water clean.
You were back up here, you would.
I'm sorry?
If you were back up here, you would.
Yes, I would, you're right. Second is the request for the approval of a one-year bond anticipation note. There are some projects that were previously approved by a town meeting for bonding that we're looking to, and we have to pay off by the end of this week our existing ban of 13 million. And we're replacing that with 12.2. We've taken the 4.2 that was part of this year's ban, taken that out of renewing it for another year because of the interim loan. But we're looking to renew some of the dollars that were set aside for 1 year. That's the MWRA water connection for $4 million, the public safety communication network, which was in prior. We have received some, we paid some of it down. I believe we received a grant too, John? Received a grant, so we're looking for 700,000 there. And then the Francis Wyman sewer water main, which was in the previous ban, we're looking to renew that for $4 million. So we have 8.7 million. That is just a renewal from last year. And then we have two new projects that were agreed. One was the Fox Hill School feasibility study for $1.5 million and another $2 million for sidewalks. That brings us to a total of $12,200,000. We're looking to ban that for 1 year. The average net interest cost to that was 3.23%. Higher than in past years, but we know what's going on in the interest rates in the marketplace. Having the we did receive our AAA rating, which has helped keep that cost down. We had 5 bids that were respondents, and we are recommending going with TD Securities.
Very good. Questions from the board? I've asked before in the past. Can you give us a Reader's Digest version of the difference between our 30-year bond and a bond anticipation note?
Bond anticipation notes are usually 1 year or 2 years, and they're a method of getting some funding until the final project is known, completed, and then at that point we can go for a longer-term bond. They usually, given the marketplace, they could be at a high rate or a lower rate, but we're not sure if we're going to be needing this all going forward, so we didn't want to lock the town into a long-term capital.
So sort of like seed money for different projects?
Yes, they could be looked at as seed money.
It's another financing tool, so you don't have to borrow all the money at once, and you can borrow a portion of it as you need it.
Very good, very good. Gentlemen, Mr. Priest, you have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the issuance of the town's $12,200,000 So this is 5%, Gary, is that right?
Well, the interest rate on the note is 5. There was quite a premium on this because of our rating, which, that's why I said the net interest cost was 3.22.
Gotcha, okay. Sorry, just got that.
That's okay.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the issuance of the town's $12,200,000, 5% general obligation bond anticipation notes dated April 28th, 2023, and payable April 25th, 2024 to TD Securities USA LLC at par and accrued interest, if any, plus a premium of $214,232 each of, yes, just that.
Second.
Motion by Selectman Curry, second by Selectman Tigas. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. There you go, Mr. Chino, thank you.
Thank you.
Gary.
Right.
You get all the signatures you need?
Yes, checked it was made.
We usually miss one or two.
Yes, very good.
Thank you. Item 104, letter of support municipal vulnerability program, fiscal year 24-25 action grant. Conservation Commission is here.
Hi there. Just for a change, I might be the one doing the talking. Hi, I'm Eileen Coleman. I'm the Assistant Conservation Administrator.
John Keeley, Conservation Minister.
And we are here to request your support for an application for a municipal vulnerability preparedness grant to cover most of the cost of the Sustainability Action Plan. So just to cut to the chase about what do we mean by sustainable. Sustainable means meeting the needs of the current generation without compromising the needs of the next generation to meet their own needs. Sorry, that was very roundabout. But so what it means is making sure that we are allowing development to occur in Burlington that is not going to affect future generations. So this plan would probably have, we're thinking that it'll have 5 focus areas. It'll cover natural resources, energy, buildings, transportation, and public health. It would be done with a core team and then a lot of assistance from the community. There would be a number of public meetings to gain feedback on what people think are important. This would also build on some of the existing plans that we already have out there, like the draft master plan, the existing assessment that we did last year, which was just for the Vinebrook area. This would sort of build on that and expand as well, because we wouldn't just be looking at nature-based solutions. So the MVP program is pretty proscribed in that they require evidence that we actually have quite a bit of community support before we even qualify for a grant. So that is why we are here today, and we're happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Gentlemen.
No questions here.
Come back to me, please.
Joe.
No, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory when you read it also. I mean, it's really not too much to ask about, I guess. It seems like a win situation.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, no questions. I'm in support, so I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So how, Eileen, how does this differ? We received some grant money, I believe, last year for something along these same lines, correct?
So we've been an MVP community for about 4 years now. First of all, we did a planning grant, which helped us to identify some of our priority areas in town. And among those, we found that it was flooding, localized flooding, and heat islands, among other things. So then 2 years later, we did our first action grant, which was also an assessment of the Vinebrook area. And that looked quite specifically at finding nature-based solutions, so things like rain gardens and swales and other means of addressing some of these flooding and heat issues. So while we haven't left that behind, we're going to continue to work on those and actually start, to put some of those actions into place. But we want to keep going forward and keep availing of a lot of the grants that are out there to keep, because this is going to be a pretty big thing going forward. I mean, the state just produced a mass climate assessment 4 months ago. They've got a roadmap towards decarbonisation. So this would be a roadmap for Burlington. We're just trying to keep up with the times.
Okay, good. And you mentioned this requires significant public participation
It does.
to be successful.
Right.
How has that participation been in the past?
How has it been in the past? Well, unfortunately, the last, our last action grant was really done largely during COVID. So that it was a bit, we did get public participation, but I think it would have been a lot more fruitful and fulfilling if we'd been able to, be in front of people much more. People weren't very willing to come out and do face-to-face
Okay.
things.
Well, anything we
So
can do
I'm hopeful
going
that that
forward?
will be better.
Anything we can be, if we can be helpful going forward,
Great,
we're
thank you.
happy
Thank you.
happy to do so. Gentlemen, can I have a motion to approve the letter of,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support for the
thank you.
municipal vulnerability program.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jim, second by Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 500.
Thank you very much for your time and for your support.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Item 105, new livery license. Paul or Lynn, you want to introduce this, or should I just turn it over to the applicant, or?
Applicant is here right now.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Would you identify yourself for the record and let us, give us a little
Sure.
background on your request tonight?
Sure. My name is Pierre Khalil. I'm a Burlington resident. I live on Jonathan Road. And I'm applying for a livery license. And I can give you a background of why or how this came to me,
Sure.
if you'd like.
I'm curious.
Sure, yeah. So I have a family of 4. Since last year or a year and a half ago, we had our 4th child. And we decided to go on a vacation, my wife and I, and with 4 kids. And, we had to go to the airport with luggage. We were going international trip. So we discovered that, even though with a 3-seat SUV, you really can't go to the airport with a family of 4 and luggage. So I had to send my family to the airport and take an Uber just for the luggage and follow them. So we did this twice last year. And then I said, you know what? This is not going to work. I need something else. So anyway, I decided to buy a bigger vehicle, and I ended up buying a 2022 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter passenger van that holds 12 people. So that solved our problem. And then, so this was last year, and since then, every family and friend has been asking for favors to go to the airport, or trips, or casino trips, or whatever trip that they have that has 4 or 5 people, they call up.
Okay.
So I decided, you know what? Maybe this will become a thing. And Burlington doesn't have this kind of service, because when I went to the airport, I checked, and I couldn't find a vehicle big enough to hold us. So to my knowledge, Burlington doesn't offer this service, or no one in Burlington does, and I think this town needs something like this.
I think it looks to me, I'm reading your application, it's very thorough, very complete. Sounds like you've really done your homework here. And I would agree with you. I even checked with Lynn on this livery licenses. I think we only had one in Burlington for decades that we've issued.
Yeah, so
I love your story. Let me the other members of the board, if they've got some questions here. Mike, why don't we start with you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the van, so you're saying that Uber can't satisfy this type of need with that big of a family and that much luggage?
So the thing with Uber, so I did a lot of research after I got the van, because I decided, you know what, I can drive Uber, because there's something called Uber vans.
Yep.
That's what you're asking about.
Right.
Excuse me. So Uber only employs vans that hold 7 passengers or less, because once you go above 7 or 8 passengers, you need a $1.5 million insurance coverage, which is something I do on my van, which I already have. It's a requirement from the state. So anyway, so Uber cannot employ vans or vehicles that hold more than 7 passengers. So no, Uber doesn't offer or doesn't have an option for that. They have a minivan. If you can squeeze your family and luggage in a minivan, that's fine. But if you're going overseas and each person has 2 luggage, you really have no option. In Burlington, anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, you're welcome. Joseph?
Yes, a couple of questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, great presentation. Questions I have are this.
Sure.
The van's got to be registered as a delivery, with the license plate livery?
Yes, so that's on the way, is actually in process right now. I have a hearing with the state on May 9th, and as you may already know, the state has so many requirements, which I've already completed all of them. Prior to the hearing, I have an inspector assigned to me, whom I'm meeting with next week to inspect the van, inspect my paperwork. I got the insurance coverage of $1.5 million already, because it's I needed it to apply for a bus permit and a driver's certificate from the state today.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question. I probably should have asked this earlier, so don't get mad at me, okay? Please. I made a mistake. I did. I made a mistake. It's only the 97th one today, so. What are our rules and regulations on having a business vehicle in the driveway?
So when I talked to Amy about it, she said that as long as it doesn't, there's no excessive deliveries, there's not impeding traffic, that there was no issues.
Fantastic. That's a great answer. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, I think it's a great story. I think it's wonderful. The only comment I'm going to make on this is I think it's a great start to something for you. I think that it could turn into something really big for the town of Burlington, and I think this is could possibly end up like our used car sales licenses. So I just want to keep on track of that first, and I am in favor of this. So with used cars, the way they do them, and they're doing them all from home now, so I don't want this to get carried away on the other hand of it either. But I am definitely in favor of it. So, okay.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
Left.
No, thank you. I love the idea. Joe took my question. And I know a van this big might make a good 4th of July float, if you know what I'm saying. No, I have nothing now.
A small fee.
Mr. Priest?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, my question was the same as Joe's, as long as it's not impeding, the right of way in the road. I know Jonathan can be fairly narrow. I live right around the corner from you on Prouty.
Oh, okay.
With my wife and my 4 kids.
You have 4 kids.
So, yeah.
Next time you need to ride to the airport.
You got a customer right here.
We get his family to the
I was
airport.
gonna say, we need that van and then some.
Yeah. A big van.
Yeah. 12 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids are tall, so.
Well, you can stand up in it. It's 6.5 feet high inside.
That's perfect. That's, yeah. Well, customer number 1 right here, apparently. Yeah, no, I mean, as long as it's not impeding the road, and that, I think it's a great idea that you're bringing something unique to the town that the town doesn't have. You're, taking the free market and you're capitalizing on it, and hopefully you really take off with it, like Joe said. So I'm also in favor of this.
Thank you.
Does Paul or John, anybody have any concerns or remarks?
I have no concerns, Mr. Chairman. I think Mike
Will you have your license by May 19th to get to Logan?
So well, see, it's a little confusing when you're working with the state. So I have, the livery license will be here this week. I already have an LLC, a DBA from the town, if you gentlemen approve, and ladies. And all my licenses from the state I've already applied for and paid for, and they've been approved. So I don't know what's left during the hearing with the state, So I think the answer is yes. And if I don't and you need a ride, it's a complimentary ride. I'm available.
Yeah, a follow-up, Mr. Chairman. So what do you provide, like, car seats and everything for younger riders, and how does that work?
So that's a question my wife asked, and I said we should not, because I can personally. I mean, I have seats at home for my kids.
Yeah.
And I would take them out if I want to drive somebody. But I think from an insurance or safety point of view, I'm not supposed to use my own seats for clients, because if I use an expired seat, or if the seat safety standards aren't up to the standards to the client's standards, and something happens, an accident, I could be sued. Because I used a defective seat or a non so safe seat. But if a client asks me, hey, do you have a seat? Yeah, I have plenty of seats.
Will the van be marked and everything with your?
So I am thinking. So this is all brand new to me. I'm thinking a magnet sign that I can put on the van and remove whenever I want.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Anything further?
I just was wondering, is the sign going to say no more friend rides?
Discounted pricing.
Wow, pretty cool. Well, if there's no more questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the livery license for a shuttle up at 11 Jonathan Road.
Second.
Motion and a second by Jim.
Second.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 500. Congratulations.
Thank you very
and
much.
go.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, we're a little ahead of time, so, John, you want to do a few warrant articles?
Mr. Chairman, that hearing was advertised for on or after 6, so.
We can address it now and
Yes.
dispose of it? Okay. All right, why don't we do that then? We'll do that, and then we can spend whatever time we need with John. Okay, item 106, public hearing. Housing proposal, Windview Heights 2. I think we're all familiar with Windview. We've batted this around a few times now. However, very specific bylaws regarding that are specific to this board in particular and to 40B affordable housing proposals. The bylaw is very rigid. It dictates very rigid public hearing requirements that no other board or commission is subject to. Included is language that prevents the Board of Selectmen from taking a vote at the conclusion of any public hearing or of this public hearing for a period of at least 3 days. This bylaw seems intent on delaying and obstructing affordable housing opportunities for Burlington residents. Our staff makes every effort to adhere to these requirements, and out of abundance of caution, and for concerns raised by 2 residents that they could not easily find information online for a full 14 days prior to tonight's scheduled hearing, we will open the public hearing and then ask for a motion to continue the matter until June 12th. We will not be taking any public comments on this matter this evening. So I need a motion to open a public hearing and then a motion to accept the public hearing as written in the online and in the newspapers, and then immediately a motion to continue the public hearing till.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Well,
June 12th.
You mentioned it was June 12th. We actually wanted it continued till the 22nd, and then it would be voted on June 12th, that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. We had, the board felt more comfortable with the
June 12th date.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we had a motion by Joe and a second by Jim. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. To open a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we continue the public hearing to.
Mr. Chairman,
Take a vote on the.
can we just include the existing advertisement into the hearing? And then we want to continue to June 12th on or after 6 o'clock.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we include the notice as advertised and continue the open public hearing till June 12th on or after 6 o'clock p.m.
Second.
Okay, motion by Jim, second by Joe. Any further discussion on the motion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 500. Okay, see you in June. Okay, item 107, Maytown meeting warrant articles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have a little more than 20 articles left for the board to review and decide to whether or not to take a position on. What's your pleasure on going through them? Should I do?
Yeah, why don't we, like we did last time, John, we'll let you run right to describe each one of them, and then we can circle back if we have questions.
Okay, great. First article we're going to talk about is, or the first 15 or so articles we're going to talk about are all part of Article 7, which is our pay-as-you-go capital warrant annually. The first one being a replacement of a vehicle, a pickup truck for the fire department. There is the one pickup for the mechanic, this specific truck comes with a plow. And the item is for $110,000. In all of Article 7, they'll all be coming from free cash as our pay-as-you, I'm sorry, the last two will be a different source, but the next one is Article 7-2, which was the bird netting, which I know everybody was excited to talk about as long as it's withdrawn. So we can talk about it on our own, but we won't waste any time here at the meeting. Article 7-3 is for DPW, and it's for the NPDES, which stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. This is the stormwater retrofit project. This article is for $100,000 for projects to mitigate stormwater runoff. As we do, the idea is as we do parking lots, we're going to be doing some added drainage underneath the surfaces to try to reduce or eliminate runoff, stormwater runoff, and this is part of a requirement from DEP, I believe from DEP.
Yes, from a permit we have with DEP related to stormwater. The next phase of that permit requires that we start actually making some of these improvements. So we'll be bringing forward these type of warrant articles every couple of years. And again, it's typically to better manage our stormwater. And again, these expenditures are a requirement of our new permit that we're working on. And it's pretty complicated stuff, but they keep moving forward. The goal is to try to prevent contaminated water from getting into our streams and our bodies of water in town that runs off from the street, so.
The requirement is to have 5 projects ongoing at once, so it's something we'll probably be talking about for not only a long time, but a lot of them. So this is something we're going to continue to see year after year. Item 7-4 is the design for Douglas Ave Pump Station. This is the last of all the pump stations. About 10 years ago, they did a study and identified deficiencies in pump stations that were approaching 50 years old. And this is the last of a bunch of repairs that we do. What we do is we come and we ask for $125,000 to design it. The following year, we come back and ask for a couple million to build it. So this is the design of Douglas Ave. Next is 7.5. It's $200,000 for drainage repair and stream cleaning. This is something that is the DPW asks for. There's 2 items like this. The conservation asks for one, and those are for people to go and hand pick stuff out of the streams and clean them. And the DPW one is more to clean silt out of the streams. Again, $200,000 a year. So you're used to seeing this one every year. There's the next one, 7-6 for $30,000 is a portable sewer bypass grinder. This is something, a portable unit that when they have a break, they can bring to the break site and not have to rent it from a contractor or waste the time waiting for one, or when they need to repair, service, or maintain our existing grinders, they can put this in place while they do that too. The next one, 7.7 for $60,000 is a replacement of the grinder, existing grinder at Terrace Hall Sewer Station. The next one, 7.8 is Terrace Hall Station VFD, which stands for Variable Frequency Drives replacements. So this is to a VFD controls the speed of the pumps, so they not on full blast all the time. It extends the useful life and makes them much more efficient. So this is for $40,000 to replace the controller and the controls on the pumps. 7-9, the sewer Vactor truck fan repair for $25,000. Pretty self-explanatory. I think everybody knows what the Vactor truck is. Pretty important. But those, the fans that help with the suction are pretty big and need to be repaired, so it costs a lot of money. 710 is an annual item. It's the vehicle repair. As you know, we have quite an extensive fleet of vehicles at our DPW. This is for the replacement of 5 vehicles. I should have pointed out at the beginning, but all the backup for these can be in your fancy little bound book that Lynn created for all town meeting members, one of the enhancements this year. So you can see exactly which vehicles are being replaced in there. But it's 5 of them for $607,000. The next is 7-11 is for the demolition of the Carpenter House, which sits right out here, for $41,000. This would be to demolish the house and make the site safe while we decide what's going to happen at that site after. 7-12 is dog pound renovations. So in the old DPW, we had a dog pound. That site was obviously demolished for the new DPW. The current dog pound temporary is up at Overlook. It's in the old rec garage there, which is less than ideal. The idea would be to spend a little bit of money to building across from one Great Meadow where the new DPW was just opened. There were 2 water buildings across the street. One of them, the bigger one, is going to be rehabbed. It's basically a big rectangle, brick building with a cement slab floor. The $100,000 would be used to outfit it with some kennels and some indoor and outdoor kennels with the bypass, a little office for the animal control officer, and then heat and lights and stuff. Pretty straightforward. That's for $100,000. 713 is for facility upgrades and energy conservation measures. This is a popular one. You see it year after year. This is money that we give to Rachel and Brian to think of a bunch of energy saving projects to keep us on track to reduce our energy loads. And it also counts as our contribution when we have to match green community grants and the like. 714 is DPW cemetery tractor, small Kubota for use at the cemetery. We need many more details on what that would do. DPW recreation building demo for $200,000 is 7.15. This kind of goes hand in hand with the 7.12, which was the dog pound. If we aren't going to do the dog pound, we probably can't knock down the temporary dog pound until we find out something else that we're going to do with them. But this is to knock down the building that's currently being used. That was the old garage for the rec. There's several buildings up there. The Burlington Players have a space up there. That's not that building. It's just the garage building. The next is the West School Museum repairs for $100,000. As the name suggests, there's some repairs that are needed. In the backup, there's more details on exactly what the work is that we can review. 7.17 was added to the list at the request of the board from one of our last meetings. The board expressed some interest in having the Wood Street Mountain Road traffic light design not pushed off. So we went back and reworked the list and made sure that made it on for this year. So that's $100,000 for the design of that traffic light. So those are all coming from free cash. The next two, 7-34 and 7-35, will actually be coming from the receipts reserved from the sale of lots. So as we sell lots at the cemetery, a portion of the money goes into perpetual care, and a portion of it goes into receipts reserved, and we are allowed to use that after an appropriation from town meeting to spend money for the benefit of the cemetery. So there's two items that they're looking to do. One is the Pine Haven columbarium. For those that don't know what a columbarium is, like me, first time I ever heard it was just a couple weeks ago. It was described to me as the file cabinet. But there's some pictures in your backup of what it will look like, and some data on what the current usage is of the existing columbarium. That's for $150,000, then there's $55,000 for repairs at the Pine Haven roof. Again, in your backup, there's more details about all of those. Mr. Chairman, would you like to stop there?
Yes.
Take one of those or answer any questions of those and then move on?
Yes, sir. Yeah, appreciate that. Let me start with Mr. Spaho. Any questions on John's list?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Morandi?
No, I have no questions at all.
Good there? Nick?
No.
Okay. None here. Wait, just, hold on. How do you? Let me ask you about 7-Eleven apartment house there.
Yeah.
Okay. Pre-existing, non-conforming currently. What happens when we demolish the house? Do we lose, are we limited to our options in terms of put there after that? Or do we still have, is there a
We can get
clock running once you
clarification
do
from the
that?
building department, but I think that the last time we looked into it, there was like a 2 years from bringing down the house if we wanted to use it as another house. We've talked about it for a while as a board at strategic planning. There didn't appear to be any potential thoughts of reusing it as a house in the future. So, you know, my understanding is that if we needed to, we'd just have to go back and re-permit it for a different use at that time after 2 years. But I can get confirmation on that from the
Yeah,
board.
I just wanted to be sure. I mean, obviously, I think we all agree it's an eyesore, it's a hazard. It needs to come down. I'm just curious about that. And John, the other thing, the pump station, the Douglas Ave station, coming from free cash, sewer enterprise fund, the appropriate funding source for that work? Or not?
Ideally, it would, but probably more likely, if we're able to fit it in, is we would put a debt service in the sewer enterprise fund. But something where it's only $100,000 for the design, and I can't remember if we did the sewer article last time. We talked about that. The revenue's not gonna quite get us there this year anyway, so we're digging into the retained earnings. So it's probably not the right time to hit the enterprise fund for that.
Okay, very good. That's all I had. If there's no other question, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve Articles 7-1 through 7-17, excluding 7-2, which was withdrawn.
And 34.
And what about 34 and 5?
And 7-30, well, all right, the 734 and 735 as well.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nick. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, 5-0-0. Okay, John.
Yeah, on to the next ones. The next three articles, there's a memo that was shared with you via email that all three of these articles have to do with a transfer from the receipts reserved for ambulance account. So several years ago, in May of 2019, we established receipts reserved fund. So we were in the initial planning stages for the town to start offering ALS services at the fire department, at the paramedic level, which at that time were being done by a contractor. And when we had ALS services performed, we only got 40% of the revenue, the contractor got 60% of that revenue. When we got to a time when we were going to be doing it all ourselves, we were going to be able to keep 100% of the revenue. And the idea was, we're going to have some added costs for doing this. We're going to segregate these revenues into a different fund, and then come to town meeting and ask for those funds to be transferred to be able to be used to offset some of these costs. So we've had it on a couple different times for town meeting and postponed it, but now we're at the time where we have a pretty good idea. We have solid data of how much revenue we're gonna have. We have a pretty good idea of what the costs have been in the last couple of years. And now we feel comfortable that, we have a couple $1 million in that fund, and we feel comfortable that we could use some of that and now continue to do it annually to help offset costs in the fire budget. And also, so Article 16 is a request to use $480,000 of that balance to purchase an ambulance. This would be the new frontline ambulance. The way we work it is we have 3 ambulances, the A1, which is the frontline ambulance, A2, there's backup, and then we have a spare. And they're kind of the first 5 years you spend in A1, the second 5 years you spend in A2, and then until you break down, you're the backup. So we'd be purchasing a new ambulance and then retiring the backup. One thing I forgot to point out as I was talking about the history of all of this is right now we know we get about 450 to 500,000 of additional revenue that's going into that. This is on top of revenue we were getting before. That's going into that receipts reserve account. The costs are around 350 to 375,000 now. Those will go up as contracts go up and stuff costs more. So there's a delta there. So we're asking for the next two articles for $360,000 to help offset the fire budget, and that would leave about 125,000 of revenue that we're not asking for. The idea is after 5 years, that $100,000 we would build up to buy another ambulance, and then we would be on a little bit of a rotation there. We'd be using those additional revenues to offset the additional costs. So Article 16 is $485,000 to fund the ambulance. Article 17 is $360,000 to help offset the FY24 fire budget, to offset those additional costs that have just been incurred in the fire department budget. And then Article 18 is that same $360,000 to help offset the budget for this current year, FY23, because we didn't use it last May and as we've talked a little bit about, we've got a little bit of an issue with fire overtime this year that we're working on, and this will help alleviate some of that.
All right, why don't we stop there for a minute, John? We'll just take these three, and then we'll finish the list. How's that? Fair enough?
Sounds great.
Jim?
John, I have a quick question on the ambulance purchase.
Yeah.
Is that 485, is that offsetting, or is that the total cost?
That's total.
Okay, that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, nothing at this time.
Mike or Joe?
No.
Good.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Jim, that's your stuff, right?
Yes.
Want to make a motion on?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve Articles 16, 17, and 18 as presented.
Second.
By Michael. Anything further? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 500.
Okay, Article 19, we don't have anything to present yet. We're working on that. That would be the A&P comp plan for next year. We'll hopefully have something before town meeting to make everybody happy. But we're continuing to work on that. Article 20 is another one that we've seen several times on the warrant, but has been withdrawn before talking about it. So this has to do with sick time buyback. A few years ago, in May of 21, I believe, the school department had taken a vote and got approval from town meeting to create an accrued liability fund. And the idea was that would be used to fund things like sick time buyback or buyouts when people retire. So they've accrued this time. It's a liability to us. How do we pay it? Now, normally, we would just pay it through the operating budget or anything in our negotiated settlements line that was left over. That's how we would go to it. This year, which we've been talking about since I started here, there's a critical mass coming at one specific department that I don't want to pick on since I just talked about them for the last 3 articles. But the fire department does have an unprecedented amount of retirements coming during the next fiscal year that there's just no way we're going to be able to absorb in the operating budget. The contract is in place that allows for this leave to be paid. It's perfectly within everybody's right, and it's something that we've known has been coming and talked about. At some point, we may have to do this, so that time is here. So it's not always exact. $500,000 probably not the exact number. That might even be a little low, but we can make some of it up in the operating. We can do things for other things, but that's where we are. Paul, I don't know if you want to add anything on that before we...
No, like I say, it's a difficult one. Collective bargaining is a difficult process, so there's no reason to be upset with the department on it. All these benefits were legally bargained over the years, and the best example I could probably use is, at one time these benefits were considered very cheap, years and years ago. In lieu of a raise, health insurance was instituted. That was considered a cheap way to provide a benefit to employees without providing them with actual cash in their paychecks. As we've seen over time, a lot of these benefits have become relatively expensive. So in this particular case, we have a pretty unfavorable contract, but again, I don't want anyone to be upset with our employees. This was all legally bargained and over a long time ago, and some of these benefits have just gotten a little bit expensive. And, we continue to work with our collective bargaining units to remove these types of things. But again, on the other side of that, typically the only thing we have to offer is money. So it's expensive for us one way or the other. And we've been talking about this bulge at the fire department for many years now. I believe it was after Prop 2.5, we had a bunch of people hired around the same time, and now they're all maturing to retirement age around the same time. So we'll have to have some significant payouts in the upcoming year.
So on to the next one, Article 21, which is Economic Development, Placemaking, and Community Events for $40,000. There's a memo in the backup from Melissa that's very detailed. But short story is things like we did with the beer garden, maybe not exactly beer garden, but so other type of events to bring a community of all the residents in a place where the businesses exist and have interaction between the business and the residents. So this is something where she was able to get some grants to do this stuff in the past. We all know she's the rainmaker, but at some point there's a drought, and we want to make sure that we don't slow her down when she has these creative ideas and create a fund for her to go to be able to fund these sort of things. 4th of July, we already voted. The next three, DEI, seasonal, and Celebrate 2025. Nick, do you want to talk about these?
Yeah, these are things that we've talked about over the last couple of meetings. Whether it be level setting on the, elected official training for DEI and, having the opportunity to bring that to town meeting, the seasonal decorations to kind of make, more uniform displays during, times of year that we want to kind of call out. And then the Celebrate 225 is, the reduction of volunteers is making it difficult to, kind of form a committee and really have the time, the dedication to that. So we're trying to democratize the activity by providing, hopefully this funding would provide an initial step toward building a package, a media kit, if you will, that we could then disseminate to not only just town departments, but any organization that, is going to participate, much like the 4th of July Committee. And that way they have what they need, and that way whenever, a group is having their event and celebrating the 225, it's consistent across the year. So, it's going to give the sense that, we are all together and united with a less impact on volunteers.
Yeah, and I'll just add that the Article 25 and 28 were withdrawn. So that's all.
Okay. All right, so what's left? Those,
from 20 down, Mike.
okay, and 4th of July. All right, anybody, any discussion on these, any of those?
Just a quick thing. So I know that we've been obviously doing a similar thing with the police department in that we've had a fair number of retirements for the last couple of years. And we've, been obviously doing a lot of appointments. Is there any way, this is just one of those ambiguous answers that I tend to ask all the time, any way that we can ensure that as we hit this big bulk of FD retirements that, as we appoint folks, there's a stagger to it so that we don't wind up in 30 years doing the same thing?
It's a little tricky, just in the sense that we have so many vacancies now. It's been so difficult to fill positions at the fire. So, I guess we got to balance it out, because the vacancy now is also costing us money, because someone has to fill that shift. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky. It's pay me now, pay me later kind of thing. And again, some of these contract items are difficult, but they were, again, very legally bargained, and we could come up with a way to sort of stagger them, but I think you're talking about putting people in different years at that point. So in order to actually get that benefit of someone potentially retiring on a schedule, people don't always retire on a schedule. Some go sooner, some go later. So I do believe that, although that's a great suggestion, it may be difficult to accomplish in practice.
Sure. Yeah, too many variables. That's fair. All right, thank you.
Anything else? Mike?
Mr. Chairman, how many vacancies do we have currently in the fire?
John, you have that?
We currently have 4.
Oh, 4, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And you're anticipating a half a dozen
Yes.
hires.
Correct.
You're looking at 10 this year.
An additional 6 in the upcoming year, so.
Yeah, we need to huddle up on that. Maybe you and I and Jim and John and team together, trying to address that.
Sure.
Okay, anything further on the items John just outlined? Okay, somebody going to make a motion for that little?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Articles 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 26.
We already approved 22. Just
right. Okay.
I withdraw 22.
Thank you, Michael. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0-0. That conclude our,
One open.
and that's what the A and B.
That will be the night of town meeting. I think we also have some appointments for that night as well. Trying to keep the agenda light for the pre-town meeting.
What is the date? What's the first night? What's the date of that?
May 9th?
Next time we get together then.
May 8th.
Oh, May 8th?
Monday is the 8th.
For the big red.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
That thing's gonna hit us with if we don't
Yeah.
get this date right.
What did it say?
Subcommittee reports, Mr. Espejo?
Oh, the backup says May 9th. That's where I got that from.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not a subcommittee report, but I did want to point out to everyone that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I just wanted to say that to our residents to kind of keep that in mind. Mental health is a big issue that's plaguing our entire country, and we have a lot of resources here in town. If you need help, we have a great youth and family services department. We have a mental health clinician at the police station, and we also if you dial 988, that's the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline. So if you could just keep that in mind for May and look out for your friends and neighbors, and don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. Life's hard, and I think if we help each other out, we can all make it a little easier on each other. So May is definitely a month to focus on mental health and for those of your loved ones and family and friends. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Marini?
I have nothing tonight, sir. Thank you.
Priest?
Yeah, nothing tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Tigas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sculpture Park Committee met this morning with the ongoing feasibility study for the police station. Everything's kind of on hold as far as what the future is gonna bring, so to speak. But when we do get moving forward, either there or at a different location, Barbara's talked to Shasheen, and they'll be willing to work with us to create a pathway when that time comes. But again, everything's depending on what the police station feasibility study has to say. And in the meantime, we're having a tentative spring event, or we're scheduling a spring event, June 3rd, it's a Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. It's going to be Sketch a Sculpture.
Say that again?
Sketch a Sculpture.
Okay.
So we'll then encourage people to come down and draw their, favorite sculpture. And the high school art, one of the high school art classes is going to be there as part of their class to assist. And we're going to try, get some refreshments and whatnot, see what we can do. And I usually do the fire department subcommittee the first meeting of the month, but I have to acknowledge them again this time. They've been extremely busy. in addition to the numerous brush fires we've had in town, they had to deal with that gas line infused house fire. Just the other night, they had apartment building fire over at Lord Barron. And fortunately, with all the fires and medical calls they've been through, there've been no injuries. So there were no injuries the other night. Again, just thank them for all they do, you know, every day for the residents. They've been very busy, in addition to being short-staffed.
Very good. Thank you, Jim. The chair has nothing tonight. Paul? You?
I don't have any additional updates, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, one more thing. Storage Cafe, which is a publication nationwide, has picked Burlington to be the number 10 small municipality / city nationwide to live in, and the number 1 in Massachusetts. So that came out over the weekend.
Yeah, I saw that. What was the publication again?
Storage Cafe, it's a publication from Storage Cafe, which they rate all the cities and towns nationwide on livability, economics, healthcare, housing. And Burlington was the number 1 in Massachusetts, number 10 nationwide.
Always good news.
Yeah.
Here with Burlington up there at the top of the list. John, you have anything you want to share with us tonight? Lynn, you got any photos of the granddaughter or anything you want to?
How about you, Danny?
Mr. Chairman, I make a...
Be careful. You got anything you want to share with us?
Sydney?
You got a few minutes.
Make motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you, everybody.